Hey everyone, thanks again for joining Sweat Success Podcast. And today is the start of a mini-series. I've got a 3-episode mini-series that's starting. Some of them are going to come a little later in between other episodes. And the very first one here today that we're going to be doing is really about being a coach and also being a practitioner, because I find that sometimes as a coach, you're getting in there and you're doing a great job coaching, getting your clients where they need to be, but not necessarily are you doing a great job of being a practitioner and advising on a scientific level. So we're going to go through some of those things. The second episode that will drop a little later is going to be really surrounding how to ask the right questions so you can drive the new customer into that series or that process so they understand why you're the best person for them and they need to come to you and maybe not somebody else down the street that is also a coach. And then the third episode, again, that will drop somewhere in between our regular scheduled episodes, will be really targeting how you go through a body composition process, why you want to go ahead and make sure that every 4 weeks you're measuring the success of your clients and why you don't want to do it sooner than that, and how you can actually get into the process and flow of getting the right payment cycles and setting up the right session packages so you can really build your business. So, needless to say, let's go ahead and get started on today's episode where you really want to just be a practitioner. I'm going to start this off because this is the same framework that I use anytime someone walks into a gym, anytime there is an appointment, anytime there is that conversation that you're going to have with that potential client. You really want to focus on why they're there, what's going on with them, and then when they finally come in for that consultation or that maybe that assessment, whatever it is that you call it, what I typically call it is a motion analysis or a movement analysis. Stay away from that assessment because they're assessing themselves every day when they wake up and they look in the mirror. So if you're analyzing things, it's a little bit more on that scientific edge. Also, when you're explaining things. So one of the first questions that I ask is, because we've had the conversation, they're supposed to come in, and we've already had that dialogue about them setting up that appointment and being there for today. So if today was the day they were walking in the door, one of the questions I'll ask them is, hey, Jody, so now that you're here, did you have a chance to go ahead and get something to eat? And if so, what was it that you had to eat? One of the reasons why it's important to ask that question is to understand. Now, take someone who has insulin dependency out of the question or out of the equation, and just focus on, standard everyday people who have no insulin dependency. Okay. So there might be some factors that take the measurements and you have to have them skewed a little bit. But when you're thinking about the person that walks in the door and you talk to Jody and Jody says, I had a salad and I had really nothing on it, you want to ask, dig further, because really they need sugars in their body, right? They need blood glucose is running rampant in your body. It's always pushing through your system. And the reason why we have blood glucose is because that blood glucose is responsible for, guess what? That pump that you get in your muscle tissues. It shunts blood into the muscle tissues because that muscle needs energy. But your brain also operates on 80 to 90% of blood glucose. So if you don't have the sugar or that glucose in your bloodstream being provided to the brain, and you have this fight or battle between the brain and the muscle, when that's happening, the person's going to get lightheaded. And this happens a lot. So if you take someone through an activity and they haven't eaten much food, or they haven't had any type of food that would contain some kind of carbohydrate or something that would break down into glucose. Okay. Now, there's plenty of foods out there that break down into glucose. As a matter of fact, there's what's called gluconeogenesis, where protein is broken down into the form of sugar, but that requires more energy, and it doesn't happen all the time unless you are in the metabolic state in order for that to happen. But when we start thinking about the way that sugar is being used, your brain uses 80 to 90% blood sugar. And if you're training someone who's a novice of exercise, they haven't been in a while, they don't do this on a regular basis, and you're taking them through an activity that's somewhat strenuous, most likely, especially if they hadn't eaten much, most likely their body is going to start shunting blood to the muscles that need that energy, right? Because those muscles are going to start shutting down. So you have this shunting of blood from one area of the body, your brain, into other areas of the body, the muscles. So organs are not now getting this sugar that they were expecting, and the muscles are getting it, and you have this battle. So what ends up happening, okay, the mechanism that happens is they get lightheaded, okay, they might feel nauseous to their stomach, and then you want to lay them down. And then the right thing to do is kick their feet up on something, so that way that blood, if it's pooling in their legs because the legs were active, they're able to get that blood. It's not fighting against the gravity to get back to their brain. My point to this is, have that conversation. You don't have to go into the crazy detail, about the science behind it all, but you should probably give them some understanding of why you're asking the question about food. It does a couple of things. It helps them understand that you are a professional and you really know what you're talking about. And the reason why you're asking the question is not just because you want to go over their nutrition habits and understand how many calories they had in the day, right? Really, the reason why you're asking that question is because you want to understand whether or not they have enough sugar in their body to perform the activity at the level of strain that you're going to put them through. Okay, hopefully it's not too strenuous, especially on their first day, but you want to ask those questions. Okay, so that's number one. That's one of the most important questions. Second one, now, if you're not doing a PAR-Q, physical activity readiness questionnaire, if you're not doing that, okay, and it's okay if you're not doing it, you don't have to do these things all the time, but you do need to know what's going on with your clients. You need to know if they have any prior history of family medical conditions, or if they themselves have medical conditions like insulin dependency, or any heart conditions or things that would prevent them from actually doing any activity. Okay, so ask those questions because they're important not just for you, but they're also important for your clients. And if you're asking the right questions about their health and you're being that practitioner, you're going to elicit the right responses, so that way they can also trust you that you're the right person to be working with. Beyond understanding what it is they're eating, okay? Sometimes I'll get the question thrown at me about soy protein versus whey protein. And soy protein, it has phytoestrogen, okay? It's an isoflavonoid. And what that really is it's just kind of a precursor to, or it acts as like an estrogen in your body. And you have to consume a lot of soy protein in order for it to have a huge effect in your body's own hormones, the hormones that you're producing. So for me, as long as people are getting the right nutrients and you're getting it in a well-balanced manner, have soy protein, that's fine. I mean, it's produced for a reason. We've got it for a reason. It's on this earth. If it came from the ground, or it came from, it's not biomedically or bioengineered, it's not some kind of engineered food, it's probably okay to eat as long as it's not going to kill you and it's not poisonous. So it's okay to have the spectrum of food, eat the colors, okay? That's one of the things that I learned from Jessie McLennan, and she's a nutritionist, and she's done a great job of educating me on more nutrition. But be very conscious and clear with your clients that you're there to guide them. You're there to help them. And most importantly, you're there to prescribe fitness. Okay, so if you can do those things, you can give them some resemblance of the idea that you really know what you're doing. And the reason why they're there is because you're going to give them some education and some advice, some feedback, so they can really drive forward and make the progress that they were hoping to achieve. I hope that has helped. It's a very quick episode today, but I want to go through a few other episodes here in the very near future to fulfill this 3-part mini series. If you have questions, please send them to me. I am more than happy to answer. If I can't answer them, I will send it to somebody that I know, like Jessie on the nutrition side, or one of the physicians or doctors that I've worked with in the past, and they'll help answer those questions for us. And if there's something you want to hear, or something you want to learn more about when it comes to personal training or working with clients, again, feel free to send me that information. Also, I'm going to go ahead and include some research articles in the show notes about soy protein, its effect on the body, and whey protein, and really who's winning that battle. And then finally, I want to go ahead and send some information in the show notes, a little bit about the way the body processes blood glucose, and really how that whole thing happen. So if you really want to dig into it a little bit more and nerd out on it, you can. But again, hey, thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, share it with other people. If there's somebody out there that you feel like they might gain something from this, please share it with them. I'd really appreciate it. And that's how I can continue to do this and continue to share with others and grow that audience and allow people to share with others. So I hope that helps. Again, thank you for joining Sweat Success Podcast. And until next time, see you on the flip side.